All right, so in this tutorial, we're going to be talking about a couple things. We're going to be talking about how I adapt the Godox ML-CD15 modifier to my Godox AD600. And we're going to be looking at ways to even simplify your Flambient method by using luminosity mode and darken mode to make the process even quicker in post-production and on site. So, but first, let's talk about how was I able to get this modifier on my Godox AD600. I've had a few questions on this, whether or not it works with a regular speed light or does it work on the Godox AD600, and the question is, or the answer to that question is no. It does not come with an adapter for the 600. It comes with an adapter for a regular speed light with, a rectangle head. It also comes with the round head for your Godox V1, and it also comes with a round adapter for like the Godox AD300 and 400. So what I did, and I'm going to show a close-up of this right here, is I just super glued the adapter to that metal plate on the Godox AD600. I recommend just popping the light bulb out, lining it up perfectly, and then super gluing it. Now, discretion, you go to resell this. If you can't get that off, don't blame me about it, but I'm just telling you, this is what I did. I used Gorilla Super Glue and held it on there, and it's been holding perfectly. So once you have this bracket super glued onto your AD600, you're simply going to take your modifier and set it right on top. And I like to take my two fingers and start in the back and then just peel and move your fingers around that ring, and the modifier will just seat right into that onto that gasket, and it stays right on there. Now you're gonna have to be careful, because if you smash this into something, that bulb is now vulnerable there. But you hook your AD600 to a strap like this, and now your hand's free. You don't have to set it down and move your tripod or whatever. I just like to run like this. So now let's get into Lightroom. I'm going to show you how I was able to use just one flash pop, ambient layer, and darken mode and luminosity mode to create a really nice image. And this particular shot was difficult because we had dark orange hardwood floors, but then white ceilings. We had lights, which, I'm not a fan of the lights, but the lights were on, and we were able to make it work with this method. So let's get into Lightroom right now. All right, so here we are in Lightroom. I'm going to show you the 4 images I took, and the reason we're doing 4, and I'm going to show you a little bit of a bonus tutorial here on how to light this stairwell here. And again, we're just using that one flash. We're on the Godox AD600 with that ML-CD15 modifier. So the first shot is our ambient shot. I'm just going to copy these settings real quick so I can show you what it looked like straight out of camera. That was our ambient layer, pretty hideous. Of course, the white balance is off. Camera's having a hard time, getting correct white balance in camera because we're having so much color cast going on. And if we just simply did the color, picker tool off the white ceiling here, very easy, we can correct that. So I am just going to paste my settings in, and all I do is pretty much the big thing I do is make sure I get correct white balance, change the profile to Adobe Standard. That flattens it even more. I believe with Adobe Color is the default. It still leaves a little bit too much saturation and contrast for my taste. So if we go to Standard, that definitely adjusts it. Makes it easier to work with a flatter image, okay? So I maybe drop the highlights down. You just play with this to your heart's content to make it look as decent as you can. And then, of course, you make a preset over here so you don't have to keep doing that for every image. All right, next image. This is where I took that AD600. And again, power is going to vary depending on what settings your camera is on. This is my thing. Everybody asks me, what flash power did you use? Literally, it changes every single room situation for the most part, right? What you want to do is set your camera, dial up your shutter to where you are exposing for the exterior or the window view, and then take a flash pop. Say it's a 1/8 power. Common sense would say, well, if it's not bright enough, then go up to 1/4, 1/2. Rule of thumb is watch that histogram on your camera after the flash pop and make sure that you got enough light. So in this situation, really all I'm focusing on, and again, I'm just pointing that modifier, I'm not pointing it up into the ceiling, I'm pointing it out into the room as if I was using it as a shoot-through umbrella. So that's how I use that ML-CD15 modifier, is I shoot into the room as if it was an umbrella. Because of the way it's designed, that dome throws light everywhere. Not as soft as a shoot-through umbrella because it's not as big, but it does create a nice wide spread. So this is what we're looking for. We're looking for nice even lighting, nice bright exposure around those windows, and that is it. So now, if we go back to our ambient layer, this is lit pretty good, but in order to paint back in that window from, like, say, this shot, it would be tough. I mean, it's a little bit too dark. So this is what we're gonna do. Now, this is an important step right here. If you have a divider or anything, there's a hallway going to the left over here. I took a flash pop, and so we brightened up this area, which is key. I will show you why I did that in a second. And then we go up the stairs, and I took a flash pop, and I just let it bounce off the ceiling for this particular case because I wanted that light to fall back softly in this situation right here. And again, you can tweak these however you want, but that is how you want to do hallway, or stairwells and hallways and that kind of thing. So let's highlight all these. Let's bring these into Photoshop, edit in, open as layers in Photoshop. Okay, once you have all 4 layers or however many layers you have it loaded into Photoshop, what we need to do now is, if you're going to run with this method, this is what I do. I am going to take my flash layer, see, it's the second one here above the ambient layer. We're just going to click on it and then drag it above the flash layer. Now, I did tell you we're running with luminosity mode, and we will change that in a second. And actually, we can change that right now. It's not a big deal. So we'll just make sure that our ambient layer is set to luminosity mode. Now we're on the flash layer. We're going to turn the flash layer to darken mode. Okay, so now if we toggle that on and off, you can see that it actually is just affecting pretty much the windows and the glare on the floor. Look at how that takes that out. Now, it's not doing it, like, if you just leave it like that, yeah, if you're in a pinch, but we can see some issues here with that luminosity mode. Let me turn that to normal. And what that does is it kind of eliminates some of the color casting when you're doing luminosity mode. So let's just go back to luminosity and see what we're dealing with here. We'll leave it on luminosity only because we're going to be able to correct a lot of that with those other flash pops. So what I like to do, though, is to make this even cleaner, because I want some of that ambient light in there. I don't want, it looking like that. So let's just create a layer mask, Command I to invert. And I know some of you are like, you can just hold down Command and click the mask. I don't know. Whatever. This is literally a habit I've been doing forever. All right, so once you have your layer mask, we make sure white is selected here. Take our brush tool. I like my flow at 5% because I like to go in slow increments. And you can make your brush about that size. And let's just paint back in our windows and any of the hot spots that we want to fix. And especially with the glare on the floor. I used to use, and I still do use circular polarizer filters sometimes. But mine got all scratched up, so I don't really like it. We're just going to paint in those lights. And with flash, most times you don't need a circular polarizer. Now what we got to do, let me back out of here so we can see the whole image. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click on this layer and bring it up to the top. And so that was it was the hallway flash pop. We're going to change that to lighten mode. Now if we toggle that on and off, we can see it did affect this leg right here. What we can do is create a layer mask, leaving it white, make sure black is selected, and we can fix that where it spilled over into this room. Toggle on and off. Yeah, you can see where it still is hitting parts of the image. Let's see. Okay, and I like to take my opacity and just bring that down so it's not so bright, but just so it matches everything else. So you can see the difference. Even if I toggle that on and off, it's still a nice difference. All right, now let's bring up our staircase shot. Same thing. Lighten mode. Toggle that on and off. It's not affecting any of the other parts of the image. That's good. Notice how clean that looks. We really don't have to do anything. I don't have to adjust the opacity or nothing. And we can just leave it like that. You might want to tweak it just a little bit, maybe 50%. Give it more of a natural look, because if you do the toggle on and off again, it just, instead of looking all, you know, like there's not a light on, now there's a light on. And now you can get the true color of the wall there too. Okay, so here's another bonus trick, I guess you could say, is after I'm looking at this image, you can see that it looks a little hot around here, and this is probably what we're for our flash shot. And so what I want to do is take the flash shot, which is our darken layer, and I'm just going to highlight it, come up here to filter, and use the camera raw filter. So basically this is like working with, you know, your Lightroom sliders. We're going to take the highlights and drop those highlights all the way down. That should help that. Let's maybe bring the exposure down a little bit too. Let's just see if that helps. And then all you got to do is hit OK, and it should adjust that image. And it does. That looks so much better. All right, we can overall brighten this up in Lightroom. So let's right click, flatten image. Once it's flat, Command S, and that'll automatically save it. Brings it right back into Lightroom for us. And again, this is my interior final bump. And I feel like that's a little bit too dark. So here's another trick. Take your black, or any of your sliders for that matter, and hold down Shift, and then just double click on the slider, and it will adjust it perfectly. If you want to hold down Option and take that slider, you can see where it starts to clip right about there. That's what Shift does. It gets them right to where they need to be. And I'm just going to run through all these. Even the contrast, the exposure, sometimes the exposure. There we go. So there is the final image using darken mode, using luminosity mode. We did lighten mode to lighten the staircase, and all we did was 3 flash pops, and with that ambient layer blended back in, and we get a nice clean image. Remember to hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button. That lets YouTube know that you liked this video and it helped you out. Leave me a comment below if this video has helped you. If you have any further questions on any of the stuff we talked about in this video. Until next time, see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.